In today's video, we're going to go through condo prices and see if they have held up or faltered, much like freehold prices. Let's get to it. Hello everyone, this is Sam from SaberiSixRealEstate and Remax Realtron Realty Inc. As always, back with another video for you guys here today. In this weekly condo market update, we're going to go through a lot of information, but before we get into that, you can find my contact information in the description box with regards to my office information and address, Instagram, TikTok, and obviously my Gmail. Feel free to use my contact information to get in touch with me with regards to any topics covered in this video or any general inquiries with regards to the Toronto/GTA real estate market. And if you want to do your own due diligence before getting in touch with me, feel free to just Google my name and click on my Google reviews and go through my Google reviews to give you a little bit more information about me and people's experiences working with me. Anyways, enough of that. Let's get to the point of today's video, which is yet another weekly condo market update. And we're going to talk about Toronto condo prices, not all over, but we're going to take two subject areas and contrast the condo prices in these two subject areas to freehold prices in those same exact areas. And the purpose of this exercise is to see if condo prices have dipped and faltered, or have they held up? Because so far we know, as I have established in my most recent videos, the Toronto condo market, the Toronto real estate market, mainly with regards to freehold properties, has seen a great shift with regards to inventory increasing, interest rates increasing, and many more installations of the increase coming up, terminated listings increasing, failed bidding wars increasing. Overall, all metrics point towards a faltering freehold market, particularly in the suburbs, where we have seen prices dip in certain areas 5 to 6%, other areas less pronounced. Nonetheless, the freehold market has dipped in terms of average sold price, median sold price, days on market, whichever way you want to look at it. So I thought it would be an interesting exercise to see if the condo market has experienced much of the same. Let's start with the downtown area, which I am designating as C1 and C8. Yes, that's not entirely downtown, but that's about 90% of what people consider downtown. And when we take in C1 and C8, as always, feel free to refer to the TREP maps, by the way, the link of which should be in the description box, to see what it actually designates. When we look at the downtown Toronto area with regards to condo prices, we actually see, and at the time of recording of this video, it's April 3rd, so we don't have April numbers obviously because it's only 3 days into April. But from January to February, from February to March, we actually see an increase in average sold price. Wherein in January, the average sold price was $807. In February, the average sold price across all condos in downtown Toronto was $839. And then ending March with the average sold price of $879. Now, before we contrast this with the freehold, obviously this is based upon my own research. So I go through the sales, although the prices have increased based upon a healthy amount of sales in each month, 620 to start with in January, upwards of 750 in March. So the sample size is decent enough. Nonetheless, in the most recent month in March, I noticed a lot more $2 million transactions occurring. So the higher price point properties were getting listed and selling at a higher rate in March of 2022 as opposed to February and January. Prices have increased month by month so far in 2022 in downtown Toronto with regards to the downtown Toronto condo market. However, it has been less competitive. It's simply the case that sometimes a lot of people have the inability to wrap their head around that. How can a market be less competitive but the average prices are increasing? Well, let me put it simply. We are seeing less offers on bidding night for condos. Well, in the same area, C1 and C8, when we look at freehold, we see a different story, wherein we see prices kind of peaked, at least with regards to the first 3 months of 2022. Prices really peaked in February, where in January, the average sold price of a freehold in downtown Toronto was 1.907, going upwards of 2 million in February and falling back down towards 1.93 in March. And this is actually one of the best case scenarios for freehold. And it may not seem like it by just looking at this bar graph, but even despite the decrease into March, downtown, if we were to compare it to other areas, more suburb areas such as York Region, Durham, Peel, have actually held up the best in terms of freehold properties. In other words put, this is the strongest case example of how freehold properties have been performing, and even in the strongest case example, they have been faltering and kind of dizzy, for lack of a better word. Because I would venture to say, having not run the numbers at a major level, more at a micro level, if we were to do the same exercise for instance, Durham, we would not see in terms of a bar graph this kind of triangle curve where we see an increase from January to February, but February to March we see a dip. It would actually most likely be a persistent decline. But nonetheless, putting aside other municipalities where freeholds are performing worse, let's go towards North York, because I did the same kind of thing for North York. And in North York, what we see is much of the same, but with a little bit of a caveat. When I say much of the same with regards to condo prices, we see an increase from the beginning of the year, where in February, the average sold price was $795, about $45,000 more than January. However, in March, the average sold price, although on paper was higher, but it was only higher by a factor of $5,000. Here, once again, literally speaking, yes, the price increase in terms of average sold price, but when we're talking about such big sample sizes of hundreds of transactions, a difference of $5,000 either way, whether it's a dip in $5,000 or increase of $5,000, doesn't really practically mean much. It's kind of immaterial, and we can think of the market in terms of prices kind of sustaining at the same levels, right? So although literally it is an increase in prices, more practically, we can say prices stayed pretty even. And this is where the market was the hottest, as I've made clear in my previous videos around the same time, in terms of condos. Condos in this part of the city of Toronto, in terms of North York, which I'm designating as C6, C7, C14, C15, were hotter, particularly with regards to C14 and C7 than downtown. Although the average sold prices were less, but things were being sold higher than asking by larger amounts and were receiving more offers than their downtown counterparts. Well, it seems now they have somewhat consolidated in prices, not dipped, but stayed even. And then we'll look at freehold in the same area as we did with downtown Toronto. We see the same exact pattern with freehold in North York as we saw with downtown Toronto. Based upon the bar graphs that represent the average sold prices per month, we see that exact trend line, that exact curve that we saw with downtown, where prices peaked in February, but dropped back down into March. And once again, the same kind of analysis I provided with the downtown area applies here. This is actually a very strong representation of how prices have been holding up for freehold, considering all other areas where we would not see this triangular trend line. We would most likely see a decline. Once again, looking at Durham mainly and Peel, where property prices have been faltering far more. So it seems as if the condo market, at least with regards to downtown Toronto and North York, insofar as this video is concerned, has either sustained in worst case scenario or actually improved since the highs of January and a first week of February. Whereas for freeholds in these areas, they have at best come down to where they were in the beginning of the year. And kind of faltered from February. So the city of Toronto, particularly with central Toronto, where North York and downtown are, or central Toronto, overall on a real estate market level, accounting for both condos and freeholds, has actually held up much better than most other areas within the GTA, in the face of all the downward pressure exerted by the increase in inventory, increase in interest rates, and anticipation of further increase in interest rates. But when we break it down with regards to condos versus freehold, condos have held up better than freehold in these areas. I guess I will step out of the purview of this video and say overall, when I look at freehold numbers all over the GTA, As I said, some areas are performing far better than other areas. Some of the strongest performance for freehold prices are still in the city of Toronto. Some of the worst performances are in the suburbs where they previously were the strongest, and vice versa with regards to the city of Toronto, where city of Toronto didn't see that much action while the suburbs were blowing up. The point here is, I think from an investor's perspective, the best buying opportunities are right now for freehold and will continue to be for freehold, because once again, we're only in April, right? They're going to increase the rates some more in April, and no one really knows by how much, but I think it's going to continue to have a further impact on freehold prices. And if you've been waiting to buy, I think, as I have said in the past, April to the summertime is your best buying window. Anyways, if you enjoyed this video, always feel free to reach out to me. As always, feel free to get in touch with any questions you have. Subscribe, comment, rate, and review. Thank you very much for watching. Stay safe and stay tuned. Thank you.